Greetings. My name is Scott Thompson, and I am the co-owner of Disc Mill Records, as you may be aware. And I wanted to do a video blog about the compilation that's coming out next week. It's been talked about and wanted to have happen for 4 years, I would say. 4 years ago, I pressed that record during Streams and Songs as kind of a guinea pig of how does manufacturing work, from mixing and mastering to artwork to physically having it in hand and yada. And that's where the name Disc Mill Records came from. It was really only out of necessity of not wanting to look like a loser without a label. So after that, we had all kind of started talking about it. And when I say we all, I basically mean the Robin Hood Hills. So we had this kind of compilation. We called it Brotherhood. It was a couple songs of Benno's, a couple songs of mine, a couple songs of JT Fremont, and then a few Robin Hood Hills tunes. And Jake did some cool artwork for it, and we just kind of sat on the idea. And then I was about coming around on 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. Was when I started recording more seriously and starting to meet new artists and develop my skills and yada, yada, yada. And so we started really talking about doing a real compilation. And I wanted to do it especially when we were working on Brenna's song, Start Over. And we spent like 3 months on that song. Tony Williamette at Minnehaha Recording, which I toured this last summer. He mastered it. And I decided that when we got to this point of the LLC being filed, like it was 2 weeks ago, guys? I was just like, 6-pack payday, let's make a fucking playlist and make a compilation. This will be easy, no problem, boom. And I dove in way too deep and came out alive. And yeah, I'm going to basically play some, make comments, whatever, but we're opening the compilation with Start Over by Brenna, which she wrote, and I heard a cell phone recording of it on SoundCloud and thought it was just a beautiful tune and thought that I could really make it sound great. So me and Benno and Brenna pretty much made this. Tyler Guest played drums on it when he came down and did some random tracking when me and Benno were living in the 2-bedroom apartment, just working with what we got, and it sounds freaking awesome. I used like a Logic Express preset sound effect, children playing for some reason in the beginning. I don't know why I did that, but we went through so many mixes of this song that I don't even know why most of it sounds the way it does. The reverb is probably too high. Synthesizer and the O's. You guys remember doing the O's? And the lyrics too, for somebody being 18 years old, I was like, how am I 30 and relating to this? It's just hit me first time I heard it. Her little backup, that really high one underneath it. And you catch those octave up notes, man. They're beautiful. Yeah, so it was at the time for sure the most layered thing I'd ever done too. Like I was terrified the entire time that my computer was just going to crash and never come back to life because we kept adding tracks and adding tracks and adding tracks. But the MacBook held up. Logic Express 7 freaking worked for it. And yeah, I mean, I think it turned out great. And I'm still very proud of the mix and proud of Brenna for sure because it's simple, but it's effective as far as the songwriting and the delivery of the vocal goes. And she got inspired by this when she graduated from Dream Academy and is getting ready to graduate from IPR now, which is where I went to school. Cheers to Brenna too, because she delivered our master disc. I forgot when I pressed String Streams and Songs that I had to provide a physical like burned CD of the track list and the masters on it. And this dude didn't tell me until it was like crunch time. He's like, oh, well, you can email it to me, but it's another $50. And I'm like, we're already out our ass. Like, how can I make this not cost more than it already is? But Brenna was able to burn it and she dropped it off today. So life is good. Track 2 is Tough Guy Tool by Benno, which was the first song that I'd heard him write in a big gap. Like, he wrote like crazy in Big Sky. There was a gap. Robin Hood Hills were playing a couple shows, and he was getting a little bit wanting to write and wrote 2, and then stopped again. And when he came to my apartment with Tough Guy Tool, we just did it on the Tascam, just acoustic guitars, bass, and vocals. And Terry Phillips was living next door to me, so she did backup vocals on it, and I think that's just beautiful. I'd love to be able to work with her more. And we sent it to Anthony, and he tracked drums for it, it's like the only thing I think anybody's ever asked Anthony to play drums on, and he did it, like basically out of necessity. But now I feel like it'd be weird to track drums to it again because it's just been like this for so long. So, yeah, this was a shift in Benno's production at least. And songwriting-wise, I would say he went more Americana this route than whereas when he was younger writing, I don't even know what you would call that, indie folk or... subgenres are fucking stupid anyway. It's just a good song, man. So yeah, with the production of this for the compilation, I basically just EQ'd the low end a little bit because the bass was like crazy, and I got it to sit in a place where it's not distracting the vocal as much. And we had it listed originally just Benno, Tough Guy Tool, but when I was talking to Kaylin about it, she's like, Terry's like a huge part of this, and why aren't you putting that it features her on there? And I was like, well, it's just backup vocals, right? I mean, if we listed everybody that did everything, we'd have to have a booklet and jewel case, and we're not doing that for this one. So I don't know. But then I listened to it as the list was getting finished and stuff like that, and I just kept going like, all that production we did, Terry was such a big part of it when we got to this point. And I was like, I gotta call Beans. We better make sure that she's at least got her name on it. And it was a pain in the ass for Dave to do it because he already had finished everything and was ready to submit it. And he's like, now you're gonna add another name, huh? It's like, yeah, that's necessary, but we're done with the additions after that. So I'm glad we are, and I hope that Terry's really pleased when she sees this track on this disc and sees her name on it. So. I told Kaylin too, I was like, well, yeah, Terry was a big part, but that song wouldn't be shit without my bass line. Why does it say featuring Scott Thompson on bass, baby? It's like, she's like, yeah, nobody cares. Okay, Terry's part's important. Oh, gotcha. Okay. And yeah, eventually I agreed with her, but next track is Why'd You Do It, The Late Season, which these guys kind of formed out of the first Disc Mill Records party that we had, because Evan came. Benno was here, but he took off, and then Tyler stayed, and we all jammed at night and had a great time. And it was like a month later, they're like, hey, dude, we started a band, so The Late Season's a thing. I was like, all right, what can I do for you? How can I help? So they came to the house, and for some reason, I don't know why we didn't work in the basement, if I still had boxes and stuff down there or what, but I thought it was this really hot idea to set the drums in the living room. And we put one tiny amp in the side bedroom, one tiny amp in the bedroom, or no, in the bathroom. And then we set Jake's bass amp in the parlor. We weren't going to have bass originally because Benno couldn't make it, but I think it was Christmas break. Maybe it was Christmas Day or something. It was my Thompson Christmas party. I know that much at least. And Jake just randomly showed up, and I had his bass amp and his bass here because he had left it at the apartment when I moved. And like, hey, this is Isaiah, and you know Evan, and you know Tyler, so you want to play bass tonight? Okay, sounds good. And I just let them jam and practice and got out of their way for like an hour, and then came upstairs and was like, okay, well, the Tascam's set up. We got 7 inputs. So it was kick, snare, overhead, guitar 1, guitar 2, bass, and a vocal. Because I thought the 8th channel was broken. Turns out that it wasn't. But yeah, this is a new mix of it. The mix that was on SoundCloud before was just bounced straight from the Tascam, and I never touched it after that. But I didn't remember that that was what I had done. So when it came to mixing this, I was able to go back to the Tascam and extract the files and mix it like properly. And it was good where I had it. And then Kaylin told me to turn the vocals up, and now it's fucking great. This just rips, man.
I won't say whether you are man, you're with thirsty more than apology. I can say what happened before. Couldn't put the blame on anyone other than me. Why'd you do it? You follow through it. So screw it.
Well, I thought this kick drum was too loud and too bassy during the beginning, and I was gonna dial it down and whatnot, but Kaylin's like, no, you're gonna want that there. And then when the breakdown hits, I'm like, I'm really glad I didn't touch that. So if it rumbles some fucking speakers during the intro, whatever, because it's worth it. His fucking lead guitar, man. So after I had taken some acoustic tracks today with Evan. He's actually one of the few that came to the house to record. When I was in Benson, people would come to the house all the time, but Hancock's been a little bit tougher to get individual artists to come. I mean, it's a little bit of a trek and whatever, but Evan came down from fucking Hutchinson, or I think he was on his way to Duluth from here or something. He put a lot of miles on, and we did an acoustic session. So we did those few, and then we did the 2 live full band tracks. And there's I think I made like 10 maybe late season discs for their first show that was last January. It was January 2018 at the bar in Biscay, and we called it Get Home. And if anybody has any burned copies of that CD, 10 bonus punk points, because that'll never be pressed or anything. I don't even remember what was on it. I don't think I saved the playlist, but this was on it, the original discs. It's that breakdown. God, when they play this live, man, it's just raging. Oh man, I can't wait till Evan's schedule dials down to the point where they can start playing shows again. And they've got new material that they're working on. He's a freaking sponsored guitar player now. I don't know that people realize this, but he's going to be posting a good story in the group chat about how he acquired a guitar sponsorship. It's basically like a level C. But yeah, and they've got a new guitar player. They're adding keyboards and shit. Late season's getting weird, and they haven't even really put anything out yet, which I think is good because it means they're developing what they were doing, what they're going to do before it's public. So it's never a poor choice. This track is Siphon 944, and he played at a party that we had at the house in August, and he plays bass for the Flower Talk, and he's their 3rd white bass player because they can't seem to keep a bass player, and they keep hiring white guys. And luckily Eric's been around for a while, so that's cool. But yeah, he played an acoustic set at my house, and man, his guitar playing and his melodies and stuff just blew me away. And he's playing the show on the 30th, which is kind of like a LLC debut show, sort of, since it's 3 of our artists playing in Morris after the LLC's been filed. So that's about as official as you get. Plus, you guys will have compilations on hand. But yeah, he sent me this to mix for it. I was going to put the Streets of Benson off my solo record, Just Feel Love, but I wanted to make room for him, so I cut my track to put his on here. For those that weren't at the party or haven't listened to the SoundCloud, getting a little taste of what he does. And this actually, he recorded himself and then sent it to me and I mixed it. So it's a close guitar mic, a far guitar that's got a phase on it, a close vocal mic and a far vocal mic, but he played and sang at the same time. So he had 4 tracks simultaneously, but still played live with no metronome. And it's 2 sections merged together. The first like half with the verses and then the outro are different sections that were pieced together, and it almost reminds me of what like an Elliott Smith demo must have been like. I dig it, man. It's good contrast for what the record has. The melody's beautiful. I did some swells with reverb on the downbeats just to add a little weirdness. This is as dark as it gets, yeah, I know there's... Reminds me of old Bright Eyes too. Like, not as early as stuff, but maybe like that Fevers and Mirrors period. He's working on an EP that we intend on putting out soonish. And he has a grandiose idea for a 22-track full-length album coming out next year. So Siphon's going to be interesting to watch and help. Uses a lot of chords and picking techniques that I don't see anybody else doing in our group. Is this where I began? She's calling out a defense. Everlasting suspense in the air. She's holding on to regrets. Something about these Wilmer guys got to write long songs too. This one's 4 minutes. Flower Talks track is 5.5. And all the Flower Talk songs are long. Late season songs are long too. Maybe that's our trend, is that we're letting artists write long songs when they were told for years they had to be 3 minutes or less. I don't know. But yeah, that Siphon track is beautiful. I really enjoy it. Up next is the Robin Hood Hills cut. So I'm going to pause for a moment. We are, for those that don't really know, the Robin Hood Hills are kind of the like foundational like legacy band of the label. Like, it turned into a label because the band turned into solo artists who also were in a band together, and the whole thing got so confusing that we didn't even know what was what. And honestly, we still don't. Our live shows are people trading instruments and different lead singers on different songs and stuff, and it's not a traditional like, this is the singer, this is the band. Like, it's the 5 of us, but it's one song to the next. You never know really what you're going to get. For Andy is a song that I wrote back in 2007 when that band started, when it was really just me and Jake. And my friend Andrew Motzko was being sent overseas to Iraq, and they had a going away party for him, and I just was not in a good place about it, and never really was. And when he came back, he's like, yeah, you were right to not be in a good place about it, because it was bullshit that I was there and never should have been, and now I have to go back again. He went twice, and it was awful. The whole fucking war in Iraq. But I wrote this song basically just about how I felt that night at that party, and the demo is on this YouTube channel. If you were to go back to like the first video, it's probably for Andy, because I made just like a picture video of the song. But the Robin Hood Hills are finally trying to make a full-length record, and it's gonna take a long time to make. But we got 6 songs recorded in December. We actually tracked in the garage, which was an experiment for me, and we got a big soundboard back that I haven't had in years and didn't even know if it worked, and we're using 2 hard disk recorders at the same time. And then I got to mixing, and I watched like 20 hours of mixing videos, and relearned everything that I thought I knew. That'll be good. Fucking smeary shit. I also retracked the vocals last weekend, like the day of the deadline. The sound clip at the beginning is royalty free on a website that I found for sound effects. It's a protester, Asian protester of some sort. I get ideas. But we've been playing this live for about 10 years and it's always been a kind of killer in the set, so it seemed like a good choice. It finally sounds the way that I wish it did 12 years ago. The Robin Hood Hills are, by the way, me, Benno, JT, Fremont, Anthony, and Tyler. So, for those that don't know, we play about one show a year. It's freaking awesome. It's usually the highlight of my year. Can't forget to keep in touch. How could Tyler, man, you kill that snare? Oh, just perfect. I hit the top above the nut on this string to do this little count. They just gotta rip it up. Yeah, so Robin Hood Hills game plan that I've come up with so far, which it's not up to me, but we have a 4-song EP that we recorded and had mixed and mastered in 2008 that's never been pressed, and I'm thinking it'd be a damn good guinea pig for a fucking 7-inch. That has to come out before this full-length would. But the full-length that we've written is 14 tracks. It's an hour long. And that's one of them, but don't expect to see a full length featuring that song for at least a year. We have a lot of work to do, and we all live really far apart, so it's tough to get together and do that. But yeah, moving on. Next track is Phil Boyd's Glow, and I played drums on this a week ago, something like that, because it had programmed drums, and that's not going to cut it. But this was one of the songs that we worked on when we were working on Start Over. So the Whoa-Who's is me and Benno and Phil in the little side room of the 2-bedroom apartment. We just worked on it until it was done. But then, yeah, Phil also wanted to redo the vocals before we pressed this. So these vocals are new. And I sent him a track with the drums, but without the vocals, and then he sent me the vocals back, and I synced them up to the new mix and mastered it. So Dave said he thinks it's one of the best sounding songs on the disc, and I'm pleased as punch with how it turned out. You frickin' betcha. I'm gonna let my cat in. So for those that don't know too, Phil Boyd has his own Bandcamp. He's got a SoundCloud page full of great shit and 2 YouTube channels. He has one that's music and then one that's video games. He does Let's Play videos, and he's got a couple thousand subscribers. He does live streams on there, and it's cool. He's living in Olivia now, but he's a Benson guy too. See, when we were in high school, I was in a band with Jake called the Richards, and he was about a year or 2 or so younger than the guys in Tiny Moving Parts, right? But Phil started playing guitar, hanging out with Calvin and all of us, and I remember like 10 years ago driving down the main streets of Benson, seeing Phil sitting on a fucking street corner with an acoustic guitar just singing to nobody, and I was like, I don't know who that kid is, but that is badass, man. Like, I wish I had the guts to do that. And a few years went by, and I worked with him in Holiday for a while, and it was all of a sudden like, oh yeah, you're the Scott Richards guy. Oh yeah, you're Calvin's cousin or nephew, nephew. And oh man, he's like, I got this hard drive that's full of about 2,000 songs if you ever want to hear one of them. It's like, fuck. And then I hear just a couple, and it's like, dude, we need to work. Like, that was kind of like the, let's be a label and not just the Robin Hood Hills plus extras. Like, let's get other people involved. Because then Jake and Tyler and Benno started hearing Phil songs. They're like, the kid is fucking great, man. You know? So I would do anything to help this guy. I love every single song he's written. And the thing is, the guy does emo, he does indie, he does pop punk, he does rap, he does fucking creepy spoken word shit. Like, musically, he's not genre specific, which Discmill Records is not genre specific either, so it makes sense. But I almost kind of wish that I would have picked one of his rap songs, considering what's up next. Yeah, buddy! Fucking my favorite band that we've ever made friends with my entire goddamn life. Fucking Weather Check, man. Okay, so we, that late season show that was in Biscay, they were on it. I didn't even know who else was playing the show. I was just told, Robin Hood Hills show up, late season's closing, and there's 2 others. And I'm like, okay, Anthony, can we turn our mustaches right and engineer a show like this? I'll even pay to rent some subs that we're going to end up buying and not paying off for a year and getting threatening messages from the people, but that's okay. Hey, it is what it is. Dirt Coast was there, and they were great. Don't get me wrong. If you like surf rock and pop rock and stuff like that, they were awesome. And I would love to get in touch with those guys and help them out any way we can. But all of a sudden, like, and I went and talked to the Weather Check guys, and they were at their merch table, and I'm like, somebody came prepared for school. We got a little merch booth going on here. This is badass. And Mono's got this piece of paper that he's like going over his notes right before they're about to go on in this bar. I'm like, yeah, there's 70 people in this fucking little bar, so it makes sense to be a little nervous, but I'm like, don't know this guy, but still like, hey, you're gonna kill it. I've never heard a single fucking thing you've done, but I know just by looking at you, you got that spirit of like, this is passion. This isn't fuck around, like just play to play. This is like play because it's your soul. You have to, right? That's Weather Check to me. They got the style and the passion all in one. And I invited them to come play at my house for the party we had in August. And I was like, you're goddamn right, I'm recording the set because I can't believe that I'm actually going to pull this off. And this track was recorded in the basement of the house I'm currently sitting in, which is kind of like the birthplace of the actual Discmill Records really forming. So, these fucking guys. Listening to this mix just puts me right back in that night too, because it was just a rager, man. It was so much fun. totally doesn't drop a stick here at all either. No, he wouldn't do that. Trevor never drops a stick. I wonder if he noticed that. I might have just fucked his whole world up. We're only making 500 copies of a record that you dropped a stick on in the recording. It's okay. I will only tell everybody. That's it. Yeah, but the thing is, he's allowed to because his recovery is like seamless. Like, I highly doubt anybody's gonna watch this video or catch that because he's that damn good. He makes it sound intentional, and that's the impressive thing about this band is everybody's just on point, you know. And you can hear Kaylin's mom at the very end go, "I think this song's about alcohol." It's awesome. He's talking about alcohol. Yeah. So, okay, I got to give a little DB pause. So I did this track with Zoom literally like within the last few weeks, and I've wanted to work with Zoom since I met him and when I moved to Hancock, you know, like a year and a half ago. And it was just out of the blue that they found this royalty-free, no copyright track on YouTube, and Zoom really liked it, and he's got a record. He's working on his second album with Will in Starbuck, and but Dave just wanted him to work with me to see what my workflow's like, and I had a track that they did at their house. I bounced it 6 different ways, just basically tweaking EQs and compressors on the master bus, but I'm like, I don't know what else you would expect a person to do with this. I printed the vocal through the Focusrite back onto Logic. I'm like, it sounds awesome. Every single one of these sounds great. I'd use any of them, and they were being really meticulous about which one they wanted. But he came over after work one night, and it was really weird because usually recording sessions are like 3, 4, 6, 10 hours, you know. And he's like, "You got the track queued up? I'm ready to go." All right. He brought one Liney's and was in the booth. 25 minutes flat. Boom. Just wanted to lay it down again. Just wanted to give it my best shot. Okay, sounds good. And he fucking left. And that ended up being the best take of everything that he had. And yeah, it was super efficient and just came out like a fucking dime. And it's short and it's just... This is a Hancock